Welcome to Cognito Key. So, today we're diving into something that's honestly the most crucial part of building great software. It's called requirement engineering, and really, you can just think of it as the master blueprint for the entire project.
I mean, can you just imagine the chaos? Seriously, walls ending up in weird places, pipes that don't connect to anything, maybe a front door on the second floor. It sounds crazy, right? But that's pretty much what happens when you try to build software without a solid plan. It's just a recipe for disaster.
So how do we avoid all that chaos? Well, that's where requirement engineering comes in. It's the methodical process that acts as our solution, our software blueprint. It's what makes sure we're building the right thing in the right way right from the get-go. All right, let's really break down what that means.
Okay, so the textbook definition sounds a little formal, but at its heart, it's pretty simple. It's this process that happens right at the very beginning of a project. It's all about getting to the bottom of what the client or the end user actually needs, writing it all down super clearly, making sure everyone's on board, and then, and this is key, managing that plan as things change. And look, this isn't just some boring checklist. Oh no. It's a really dynamic, collaborative thing. You're trying to figure out what users really want. You're analyzing if it's even possible to build. You're coming up with smart solutions. And then you're checking with everyone to make sure you've got it right. And, so importantly, it sets you up to handle those changes that, always pop up later on.
All right, so just like with our house example, not all blueprints are made equal, right? A really good software blueprint, a strong one, has certain parts and qualities that make it work. So let's take a look at the anatomy of a requirement and see what makes it so effective.
You can kind of think of requirements in different layers. Right at the top, you've got the business requirements. This is the big why. Why are we even doing this? Then you have user requirements, which is all about what people will actually do with the software. And then you get down to the nitty-gritty, the software requirements. These spell out exactly how the system needs to work. Okay, this next part is so important. A great requirement has to be unambiguous. That just means it can only be interpreted in one way. Think about it. If you say the search should be fast, what on earth does fast mean? To you, it might mean instant. To the developer, it might mean 3 seconds. See? If there's room for confusion, it's already a failed requirement.
Next up, it's got to be complete. Just like you wouldn't want a blueprint for a house that, totally forgets the kitchen, you can't have requirements with missing pieces. Saying the user can search just isn't enough. How? A complete requirement would say something like, the user can search for products by name, category, and price range. See the difference? All the details are there.
And it also has to be consistent. You can't have requirements that fight with each other. If one part of the plan says, put the search bar everywhere, but another part says the checkout page must have 0 distractions, well, you've got a problem. The whole thing needs to make sense together, with no contradictions. And finally, this one is a big one. It must be testable. You have to be able to prove without a doubt that you actually built what you said you would. Let's go back to our fast search example. How do you test fast? You can't. But what if the requirement was, search results must return in under 500 milliseconds. Now that you can test. You can measure it, and you can prove it's done. Okay, so we've covered what makes a requirement good. But how do we actually, make the blueprint? Well, there's a pretty logical 6-step process that gets us from a vague idea to a solid, manageable plan. Let's walk through it. So the whole journey kicks off with Inception. That's just understanding the basic idea. Then we move into Elicitation, which is a fancy word for gathering all the details from everybody. After that, we have Specification. This is where we write it all down really clearly. Then comes Negotiation, because you always have to sort out conflicts and priorities. Then we validate it, just to double-check that everything is right. And finally, there's Management, which is the ongoing job of keeping track of any changes along the way. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a lot of work. So why bother with all this? The answer is simple. Because a little bit of effort now saves you a huge amount of time, money, and headaches later on. The payoff is absolutely massive. First up, and this is a big one, you get a shared vision. Suddenly everyone, the client, the developers, the managers, is on the same page. They're all looking at the same blueprint, aiming for the same target. No more guessing, no more assuming, just pure alignment. Benefit number 2, you get a clearly defined scope. And this is your secret weapon against something we call scope creep. You know that thing where people keep adding just one more little feature?
It can derail everything. This blueprint clearly says this is what we're building, and just as important, this is what we are not building.
And of course, all this clarity has a massive impact on your budget. Get this, some studies have shown that fixing an error in the requirements after the software is already built can cost up to 100 times more than fixing it right at the beginning. 100 times. A good plan protects you from those kinds of expensive surprises. And it's the same story with your schedule. When you have a really detailed blueprint, you can create a realistic timeline. And it's not just about hitting a deadline, it's about building trust. When you know exactly what you're building, you can confidently say when it'll be done. And that prevents those endless delays that drive everyone crazy. You know, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. This quote really says it all perfectly. The whole point of doing all this work is to make a simple promise that the software we build will do exactly what we said it would do, and it will meet all the standards of quality. So as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Your next project, it doesn't even have to be software. Are you building it on a solid blueprint? Or are you kind of just building it on shifting sand and hoping for the best? Hey, if this explainer helped you see just how powerful a good blueprint can be, please do me a favor and hit that like button, share it with someone who might need it, and of course, subscribe to Cognito Key for more deep dives into topics like this. Thank you so much for watching.